yesterday. A man retired who has played football at a very high level for a long ass time. A man who I have do-si-doed with on the football field numerous times. A man who has spurred a conversation now on whether or not he will be a Hall of Famer, and that conversation will probably continue, if my guessing and expectation is correct, probably for the next 30 years. I believe at some point Julian Edelman will end up in the Hall of Fame. I do not believe he will be able to go into the Hall of Fame anytime soon, strictly because his stats are nowhere near what some other wide receiver stats are who will definitely go in before him. But I do believe with what Julian Edelman was able to accomplish throughout his whole career, I believe he will be a Hall of Famer eventually. Now, is that me not giving an answer on whether or not he's a Hall of Famer? I think it's an answer. I just don't think he's going to be a first ballot. I don't think he's going to be a second ballot Hall of Famer. By the way, a lot of people aren't first ballot Hall of Famers or second ballot Hall of Famers, but I believe Julian Edelman's work of art in the NFL is worthy of a Hall of Fame knock on the door, probably by the same guy 20, 30 years from now, in an induction in there. I think whenever I punted to him early in my career, and then until Tyreek Hill basically started returning punts, he was the guy I feared most as a punt returner. He took one to the crib against us in the same game. He almost took another one back where I had to tackle him actually, and it was a pretty good tackle. Made a highlight list. I kind of picked him up. It was great hit. I mean, it was a pretty good tackle, but he was about to juke me, okay, by the way, and I had to actually pick him up and go, no, you can't get two in the same fucking game on me, Julian. No, so I put him down, ruined my stats for the entire year. He was always somebody you knew was going to give absolutely everything on every single play. There was no give up. There was no quit. There was no nothing. And it felt like Tom Brady would go to him in moments that where he needed a play to be made. He was probably going to end up going to this guy who I just learned very recently via Gronk's promo he cut on Fox is nicknamed the Squirrel. Now, the reason why he was an incredible punt returner and something that doesn't get talked about a lot, they only talk about his wide receiver stats and everything like that, is because I think he played football in a fashion, and Bill Belichick summed it up, is he was fearless, he was committed, he was explosive, he had great vision, and it felt like no matter what happened, his teammates rallied around him. He was the only returner for a good bit of my career that would not have a conversation with me before the game. I was going to be punting to him. He knew I was going to be punting to him. I knew I was going to be punting to him. He would be catching punts from their punter right next to me, which is kind of how it always worked. You would kind of punt the opposite way, and every single time I would try to spark a conversation. I'd say, hey, how you doing? You know, how's it going? And they would probably say like, not bad, or whatever it was going to be. And I'm like, hey, if we get into the open field today, don't run me over. And normally there's a good little pop there, you know what I mean? And they're like, no, that's you, or whatever they would normally say in a complimentary fashion back, because I've been told that every returner was shown an entire highlight of me tackling people, basically saying to them going into the game, like, cannot end up on this list. There's a lot of people on there, because for returners, getting tackled by the punter is not necessarily a good thing. So I would always try to set the tone in warm-ups. I would try to win them over a little bit. Hey, try to juke me, you know, so then I could potentially use the old bait and tackle where, a little bit of a round white, a little bit slow, try to get the edge. I'm going to close that thing and I'm going to go for it. So whenever they try to run you over, though, there's really, you're kind of stuck in the track. So I was always trying to like, hey, don't run me over. We get in the open field. In Josh Cribbs, actually, we got into the open field on a kickoff, and he tried to run around me, where he very clearly could have just shoved my face right into the ground. He tried to run around me. I wrap him up. I tackle him. As he's standing, he looks at me and goes, I should have tried to run you over. And I laughed. I laughed, and I said, you got it. Julian would not talk to me, would not even say a word. He actually caught two punts, the one more. So he caught a punt, and I was trying to talk to him. Then another punt, catches another punt, and then just runs off. Ultimate competitor, would not say anything. I ran into him in LA in the offseason. It was after I was doing something on NFL Network, and they asked me to rank my top 5, I think, most feared punt returners or whatever, and I put him at number 1. I put him at number 1. I was like, this guy scares the shit out of me. He's not going to give a fair catch. He's going to try to make the most of every single play. It was on NFL Network. It aired. That hit the social media, and everybody's like, oh, so he's the best returner you've ever seen. It was like, well, he was the one I don't like playing, because he just never, I'm a fair catch guy, and he never gave a fair catch or whatever. So kind of spurred an entire conversation. We run into each other a couple weeks later. He said, he thanks me for that situation. We have an embrace. We have a couple drinks. We have a good time. And ever since then, it has been an absolute delight following him in social media, his documentaries, the things he creates off the field, whether it's with Danny Amendola, the short little bits, or the burger time thing, or whatever it was, watching him dominate on the field. I am a massive fan of Julian Edelman as a football player, and I was very fortunate to play against him. Now, I think he's a Hall of Famer. I think it's going to be a long time whenever he finally gets in there, but I think he's going to go in. Now, let's go to at Boston Connor, who is a New England Patriot fan. I'd assume you guys absolutely fucking love Julian Edelman.
Oh, yeah, put him in the Hall of Fame, first ballot, no doubt about it. I mean, when you look at everything that he's done over the course of time, he's played defense, he's played special teams, he's played offense, but I feel like rarely do you see a guy retire like this and every single person comes out with something, positive to say. There's nothing negative about Julian Edelman that you saw yesterday on the internet at least.
Yeah. The immediate negative was Hines Ward's not in, Reggie Wayne's not in. That's the immediate, which stinks, by the way. Phillip Rivers retires, and instead of taking 2 minutes of saying, "Hey, Phil, hell of a run,
nice job, Phil,
hell of a run," instead it immediately goes, "Not a Hall of Famer." It's not the Hall of Good. It's not the Hall of Good. It's literally immediately upon the guy's retirement, he hasn't even been able to pick up his whistle at that new school where he's coaching at. They're like, not fucking good enough. Hey, good run starting quarterback for like 25 years in the NFL. Not good enough. You stink. Get the fuck out of here.
Sorry.
It's about time you're tired, man. That's kind of what started happening yesterday with Julian Edelman. It was like everybody who played alongside of him, I think, and played against him was like, hey, this guy, love him. And then immediately everybody's like, not all of it. Don't even start the Hall of Fame conversation. And by the way, I understand that's a society we live in, but it kind of stinks that that's immediately what everybody goes to. But by the way, you got to be pretty fucking good if that's a conversation that's happening immediately upon your retirement.
Yeah, I honestly thought Hines Ward was already in the Hall of Fame.
Me too,
just to be clear.
He won Dancing with the Stars. That was the parade.
Okay, that was
sure.
See, in my head, I had a Hines Ward parade.
2 Hall of Fames.
Where he was by himself.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that's probably Hall of Fame. It was actually Dancing with the Stars he won. He had that parade.
Well, and either way, though, right? Like, you remember a Hines Ward, you're going to remember a Julian Edelman, whether he's in the Hall of Fame or not. And that's all you really want from a career, right? Is to be remembered.
Especially in New England.
Yeah.
We chatted about this off air a little bit. And that was, I think, last night as I was laying there thinking there, I was like, okay, got to talk for 3 hours tomorrow. All right, what are we going to talk about? Have to talk about Julian Edelman. Oh, okay, so now everybody's going to want to hear whether or not I think he's a Hall of Famer. And I'm like, I think he is a Hall of Famer. And then it was like, but if you say that, you're immediately saying he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. It's like, well, by the way, I'd put him in first ballot Hall of Fame.
Yes.
I don't think others will. The people that hold the Hall of Fame at a level that is so, by the way, that's their right to do so, the prestigious level of whatever. But for me, I think the Hall of Fame is a celebration of the game. And I think just like with Phillip Rivers, I think Phillip Rivers is somebody that the NFL should be like, we had this guy, he had 75 kids, never swore, played for blah, blah, blah. I think that is what the Hall of Fame is in my eyes. It's like a museum almost, like hey, this is what we have. I think Julian Edelman has done enough, in my eyes, to be remembered among the game's greats for the decisions and the plays that he's made in critical situations that will be played 20 to 30 years from now when he goes in and people will be like, holy, that catch.
Yes. Yeah.
That catch against the Falcons, absolutely insane. His punt returns, the highlights, everything, the big third downs that had to be made. Yes. It was just like those moments, I think, are worthy enough of a conversation for him to be in the museum of the NFL at some point.
There was one play I saw, and it was a 3rd and 14 with 10 minutes left against the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl, and he gets destroyed by Cam Chancellor, but holds onto the ball first down on a 3rd and 14. It's just so many of those plays that you just forget about. The throw to Amendola against the Ravens. There's so many little things like that where it's like you forget how awesome this guy was, but then you watch it again. It's like, okay, yeah, put him in the Hall of Fame immediately.
So